It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports,
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. Ulike. With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. It is the day of the NBA draft. That's right, where dreams become reality for Cooper Flagg and the rest of the gang. Part of that gang, VJ Edgecombe, might be the highest Baylor basketball player ever taken in the NBA draft. That stat comes courtesy of Scotty Swingler, who is once again riding shotgun today on the wheels of steel. We've got Paul Biancardi coming up in our second segment. ESPN's Paul Biancardi. He's basically like the grandfather of all this scouting stuff. And the reason I call him Big Papa is because when all these kids are coming up through the AAU, high school, amateur system, or youth system, I should say, in basketball, he's ranking them. The ESPN High School Top 100 is done by the director of scouting for ESPN, Paul Biancardi. Nobody has a better feel for these guys than Coach. So we're going to have Paul Biancardi on the second segment to answer some questions that I have about the draft, certain players, places they'll go. I want to ask him about Ace Bailey and what the deal is, skipping workouts, if that's something that Coach B had seen in him when he was a young guy. So he'll get us set for the draft tonight. And then in our last segment, a special segment brought to us by Baylor Scott and White, we're going to talk to Dr. Irvin from Baylor Athletics, their head of medicine there, about the influx in these Achilles injuries. Now, this is something where we taped the interview yesterday, so I don't want to tip my hand, or our hand, I should say, or the doc's hand. Not that she gambles at all, but you get what I'm saying. And I have a little bit of a theory, and it had preceded my conversation with Dr. Irvin because Nick Van Exel had mentioned this after Dame Lillard got hurt. And there is a trend in basketball and in sports to no longer wear. When I was a kid, it was like if you're playing, and for me, even football, because I played up front, I wore high tops, like high top cleats. And of course, on the basketball court, you wore high tops. It was like a prerequisite. Nowadays, we're not seeing any of the high tops being worn really by these players. I did as much research as I could do, not quite like going deep on the Zapruder film, but I just pulled up the last three Achilles. Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum, and Dame Lillard. All three of those dudes are wearing like low cut or 3/4, right? Van Exel had mentioned, he said it's those damn lows, right? Alluding that the shoes being low cut are contributing to some of these injuries. The doctor talks a little bit about that, where I was surprised to hear it coming from somebody in medicine. She didn't plant her flag there, but that's very interesting. Now, of course, there's more to this than just equipment. Jay Williams was yesterday on Instagram making some very good points. 8 Achilles injuries this past NBA season. That's the most ever, right? And the game and the way it's being played is so furious now. The pacing that we love has been so quick and up and down. And is that contributing to some of these injuries? Or do we have these race cars just running in the red now and eventually breaking down because speeds and pace and contact is more than we've ever seen? I saw a couple guys say, yo, throw it in the post once in a while. Slow it down a little bit. So that's something that's a hot topic now, and I was so pumped to be able to have somebody who actually knows what they're talking about on this show. That's where Dr. Laura Irvin comes in as far as medicine is concerned, and Paul Biancardi about the NBA draft. The Pete Sousa Show, of course, is presented by Slovacics, Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, Socorro Family Ford, First National Bank of Central Texas. They're going all in. They pushed their chips in the middle of the table yesterday, unofficially, as a part of the Pete Sousa Show. So we are so pumped to continue and actually to start new deals with folks here in Central Texas and across the nation. 53 subs for the Pete Sousa Show. So please just keep joining on, man. We love it. I'm so grateful and appreciative that people, are compelled to listen to this and find this stuff compelling. I know that I find the draft compelling, and there's two things I want to talk about as it relates to the NBA and going into tonight's draft. One thing, Cooper Flag, okay? Of course, we're going to talk to Coach B about this. And I was really intrigued this morning. I saw Mike Greenberg put a list together of the top 5 one-and-dones, okay, since in the last 20 years, so 2006. So, like, Carmelo's not on this list, right? And it's not how good their NBA career was. It's how good they were one and done, okay? And I liked his list, and I figured it'd be fun to react to that and see where we felt Cooper Flag. Okay, number 5, he had Kevin Love, okay? And that's a great call. Kevin Love played in the Final Four with UCLA, was the 5th pick in the draft. Number 4, he had Michael Beasley. That is spot on. Scotty's giving me the head nod. Beasley was an absolute beast. I'm surprised he's actually not higher up on this list. But this next one will kind of rattle your memory a little bit, and this is certainly a disappointment. Zion Williamson could stop traffic when he was playing at Duke, and there's been a disappointment in the NBA. And certainly, he has, right, Scotty? In my opinion, yes. Scotty's saying not even close. Yeah, total confirmation there. I don't want to go out on a limb and be like, that guy's a bust or whatever, but yeah, Zion.
No, I will.
Yeah, he's not met expectations. No, okay. I mean, he was one of those guys when the Pelicans, when they won the draft lottery in 2019, it was like the biggest deal. I remember looking into their sales room. Remember, they had that camera.
Dude. Here's the thing, and we'll get into it with Cooper Flagg. That's why he's the GOAT, by the way. Everyone wants to find the next LeBron James. And when someone's a transcendent prospect, is like, this is the best prospect since LeBron James.
Yeah.
They said that about Zion.
Yeah.
Like, this is LeBron James. Look how he dunks. Look how he handles the basketball at his size.
Yeah.
Total bust.
I think there's something up with your sound, too. Did you hear that? There's something happening. Right? Ready? Talk.
I fixed it.
My man.
Thanks for noticing that.
Come on.
I was too excited about talking bad about Zion Williamson. I'm so sorry.
All right, one guy you can't talk about badly is the number 2 guy on this list, is Anthony Davis. That's pretty good. I mean, AD won a title, obviously, at Kentucky. Larry Brown, by the way, Larry Brown's all over this list. I can remember I always say when I worked for the Sixers in public relations and I would get a chance to have Larry Brown's or just be within an earshot of him talking to other scouts and stuff at practices. He loved Michael Beasley and he loved Anthony Davis. I remember he called Anthony Davis. This is by the time this happened, I was no longer with the Sixers, but I can remember publicly he called Anthony Davis the next Bill Russell. High praise. What you think about him meeting that comparison really doesn't matter, but AD is still a monster. And then, of course, number 1, I say, of course, you know who it is? Kevin Durant. Yeah. I mean, that's KD. KD is 37 years old. I mean, now this goes into the pro side of it, which doesn't come into this argument, but he's averaging 27 points a game, dude, at 37. Kevin Durant is amazing, and he certainly tops this list. Now, Cooper Flagg. Where does he fit in on this list of one and dones?
Can I mention 2 more that I'm kind of surprised? I'm not surprised they were in that top 5.
Don't say Maceo Teague or somebody, all right?
No. I'm going to tell you the other 2 one and dones who they one had a good NBA career, one has not. Derrick Rose was a one and done, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he was pretty hyped up coming out of Memphis. Like he was.
Are you sure he was one? He had to be 2 years. No.
Was he?
Look it up. Well, I'll look it up. You keep talking. I'll look. And
then John Wall. Everyone thought John Wall was going to be the next greatest point guard in the NBA.
Yeah.
He was very, very good at Kentucky.
He was definitely a one and done. I think Derrick Rose played more than 1 year.
I could be wrong. I thought they were both. I was thinking point guards. Because I thought of Kyrie, but Kyrie was kind of a questionable prospect. Like he didn't just dominate at Duke.
No, he only played 1 year. D Rose only played 1 year.
There you go. So I would say Rose and John Wall are some other notable one and dones that were very hyped.
Okay, that's a really good call.
Yeah.
And I think you could put maybe, I guess Zion was so good at Duke though, right? I mean, it's about that 1 year that they actually played in college. Where would you put Cooper on this list?
Who was 3? Was that Zion 3?
Yeah. But remember, it's not how they played in the pros. I would put Cooper.
Just straight up. Okay, so straight coming out of college, I would put Cooper 4, but it's because I would have Beasley at 3.
Okay.
I would say Durant, Davis, I think are a clear 1, 2. I think Beasley was more hyped than. Well, Zion was pretty hyped, though. You're right about that.
Yeah, Zion was, dude.
They were calling him the next LeBron. They were.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
And especially and there was also some play into they carried themselves the same, the way they walked around the court. Remember, like they kind of stormed around the court. There were guys doing impressions of how Zion kind of
I don't know.
carried
So Cooper's somewhere around 4 or 5 in that list. It's hard to put him over Beasley or Zion, but he's probably in that tier.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think Cooper could be like number 3. I really believe that. I believe, and here's one of the things about Cooper now, as we turn the page to a professional scene here. Cooper Flagg may have really played under more pressure at Duke at 17 years old than he will play under the same amount of pressure. He played under more pressure at Duke as a freshman than he will next year in Dallas. I think that's a huge advantage for him. What are you going to say? Something?
I would tend to agree with you, except I'll raise two things. I think he needs AD and or Kyrie to get healthy.
Well, Kyrie will be healthy in January.
Or then he will be playing under a lot of pressure. If he's playing next to one of those guys, that's a lot. But two, do not underestimate, and everybody knows who's watching this how I feel. Do not underestimate how many Dallas fans are going to want him to come in and be excellent quickly because they're still bitter about Luka. I'm not saying that's a fair expectation.
No, it's not. But
maybe that noise won't bother him. Like maybe he can shrug that off, and fan expectations won't. He's going to go average 19, and fans are like, why isn't he averaging 25? And maybe it won't bother him. But I think there are some fans that are going to be like, he's our next Dirk. He's our next Luka. He's got to be our next superstar.
Yeah.
And if he kind of struggles or is more like good, not amazing, I think there might be some pressure turned up on him.
Well, yes, I would honestly say if we're going to get into the whole fandom thing and the whole hype thing and the reaction to how he plays early on, I really believe Dallas Mavericks fans are kind of more knowledgeable than that. It's really, I believe that, and this is a guy from
every
Philly.
Fan base has a bozo, and
genius, that's true. That's true. But overwhelmingly, I think that it's a pretty knowledgeable fan base. I also believe that you got Anthony Davis and you have Kyrie. Right, those are two future Hall of Famers, more than likely. So you would think that AD will be healthy, and Kyrie is on track to be healthy in January. Of course, he now re-signs with the Mavs yesterday, 3 years for $119 million, which is probably a little less than he was worth. But him taking this new deal and declining that option really opens up room for Dallas to sign another lead guard with that like $5.7 million mid-level exception. So what are you laughing at? This guy over here. He's got jokes. Don Rickles.
I'm just excited.
What do you got to say? Go ahead.
The rumor is they're going to go get Chris Paul.
Okay, so now we're talking, dude.
That'd be awesome.
So Cooper Flag, you're dropped in. Like,
listen, can you imagine? I can't get excited about the Mavericks. I have to stop.
That is a home run.
Bro, can you imagine how good of a locker room that would be if Cooper Flag walks in with 80?
Chris Paul played
Kyrie,
82 games last year.
I know.
Like, that is a living, breathing example. Ring, no ring of a champion coming into your orbit.
Well, and again, even if it's not a literal champion, like Chris Paul, is there
but
a better
champion? He's got the heart of a champion.
Is there a veteran you'd rather want in your locker room in the NBA than Chris Paul?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Adrian Branch, who you probably forget or don't know, but he was a color analyst for the Charlotte Bobcats when I did PR for them. He played at Maryland, played with Lenny Bias, played for the Trailblazers in the NBA, and has worked as an analyst on ESPN. I've called a couple games with him. The heart of a champion. AD always talked about the heart of a champion, or AB. So I believe the heart of the champion, baby. Chris Paul has that. And what an environment, though, for Cooper Flag to be drafted into. Really, I mean, if I am his family, I mean, and he seems like a bright kid, but, man, what an exciting time. Like, we haven't talked to Paul, Coach B, and he's coming up next here in a few minutes. We haven't talked to him since the Mavs won the lottery. So I'm so interested to see what he thinks about where Cooper Flag will end up. Another thing too about this morning watching ESPN, it was the first time I saw, and I've gone on record growing up as a kid who grew up in Philly, reading Stephen A. Smith as a beat writer and then a columnist in the Philadelphia Inquirer. I just have a different context with him. I love the dude. He's got like journalism in his bones, and I know he's over the top and stuff. But this morning, he was talking about how Kyrie should have gotten more money. And I swear it was the first time we saw Stephen A. be kind of, I think he couldn't understand that his contract was almost as big as Kyrie Irving's. I think that was kind of breaking his brain. He's making $100 million. From Disney and ESPN, and I think he was like, "Wait a minute, I can't only be making $20 million less than Kyrie on this contract." I swear, I think he was like, "Hold on," which was kind of cool. I love Stephen A.
You want to talk back to our friend Bear the Truth real quick? I think this is an interesting question.
Yeah, go ahead. What's he got?
I want to hear Pete's perspective on this.
Okay.
How long or how much time do you think it will take for Cooper to become a superstar, if any? We can ask Paul that too after the break.
First of all, I don't know that he will ever become a superstar.
Yep.
So let's say all-star. Because superstar is like, that's so hard to figure out. Like, we all think, I'll just go on this real quick. Everybody, even the people who know the most, right? Like, Nikola Jokic was drafted while there was a Taco Bell commercial on. Like, he's the best player in the NBA, probably. I mean, you could argue, but SGA, nobody was saying. I mean, he was picked in the top. He was picked in the lottery, 11th pick. But nobody was like, this is the guy. So, like, we don't know, okay? But I would say Cooper Flagg could be an all-star in the next 3 years. I would think I would say you want him to be an all-star in his third year. As a number one pick, that's a reasonable expectation, especially when you consider the talent he's surrounded.
It's kind of the Cade Cunningham track.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But like Paolo, he's not an all-star yet, is he? He wasn't an all-star last year.
I thought he was.
He was? Okay, good. Then that kind of works. That works perfect then. All right, we got Coach Paul Biancardi from ESPN coming up on the other side of the break. I want to just give a quick window into how special having Coach B on is. Nobody has followed these kids, all of them collectively as a group, for as long as Coach B has, right? The ESPN's top 100 is a list that we all like devour. And it's an early start, an early jump on this draft lottery class we're about to see in real time tonight come to life. But nobody has the book on these guys and their families and their backgrounds like Coach Paul Biancardi does. So we got a couple questions for him coming up after the break. If you've got a question for Coach B, send it our way. Maybe we'll ask him. All right, the Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacic's NBA Draft Day continues after this.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Combine that with OrganicHemp.com's top quality CBD for ultimate balance. Start your healing journey today at GlobalHealing.com and OrganicHemp.com. Unlock a world of convenience with Mully Box, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. Each box is tailored to your tastes. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. At Toussaint's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit Toussaint's.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com. BizChair.com. Your one-stop shop for premium commercial furniture that blends quality with affordability. From ergonomic office chairs to durable restaurant seating, we cater to diverse industries including corporate, medical, hospitality, and education. With over 20 years of experience, we offer fast shipping, exceptional customer support, and furniture solutions that stand up to high-traffic environment. Elevate your space with BizChair's vast selection of stylish, reliable, and cost-effective furniture. Visit us today at BizChair.com to transform your business. At Mitzi, we believe the right light can transform any space. Born from a third-generation lighting family, we craft beautifully designed, premium lighting that's made to be affordable. Inspired by Grandma Mitzi's eclectic style, we're on a mission to make high-quality lighting accessible to all. Whether you're updating your space or adding a unique fixture, Mitzi has the perfect design for you. Beautiful, well-made lighting without the high price tag. Discover your perfect light at Mitzi.com. That's MITZI.com. Mitzi. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. The grinder mentality that Randy and Brent Habert built into 44 Pro runs deep within our team. Every member shares a passion for the craft, the game, and most importantly, the player. When you step onto the field with a 44 Pro custom glove, you'll feel the difference. It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro. Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, we've got your team's colors running through our veins. From official replica kits to custom player prints of your favorite stars like Ronaldo, Messi, and Kane, Kitbag is your one-stop shop for all things football. Powered by Fanatics, we deliver to over 180 countries, ensuring you get the gear you need fast. For true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's kitbag.com. Kitbag.
Hey, there he is. ESPN's Director of Scouting, Coach Paul Biancardi. Coach, what's happening?
Let's see. People are devouring my information. That's what I heard you say going to break. I love that. I'm going to clip that and use it.
They have been devouring and still are. This is not just like happening now.
Yes. I love that. Thank you.
It's the truth, man. I mean, I think that's a big part of this and something that you bring that is nuanced, a real personal feel to a lot of these recruits. You've been around these guys and their families, right? Because in order to get to these clinics and camps and games that you see them at, right? Mom and dad or a parent or somebody has to get them there. So you meet them when these guys are real young, and I think that's a big part of why your analysis is so good.
Well, Pete, thank you. It gives me great background, right? I was just out in Treviso, Italy with the best players, not only for Adidas on their circuit, but also some of the best players internationally that may come into the draft in the future. But you're right, whether it's the Nike Peach Jam, the Under Armour circuit, the NBPA Top 100 camp, you're there, you evaluate the players, and then you have conversations with the parents. I see the parents in the hotels. I see them at the restaurants. Ultimately, we have a conversation, and it's so cool to get to know them, the player, and then the parents and the support that each player has. It warms my heart to watch the draft tonight because I've watched these kids since they were sophomores in high school.
Yeah, it's so cool. One of those dudes, obviously, is Cooper Flagg. The last time you and I talked, the lottery had not taken place yet. So now it's clear he's going to be a Dallas Maverick, right? Unless something crazy happens. We talk about Cooper Flagg. We're so complimentary. It's interesting. I don't see people talk at all really about his weaknesses. I've heard people say he could be a better decision maker, maybe. But if there's one thing like a weakness for him, what is that, Coach?
You know, that's a great question, Pete. It really is, because I was looking for that weakness in high school as much as I could. There's a lot of things he has to improve on. Let's say that. He's got to be a better on-ball defender, especially in the NBA, okay? A lot of teams went at Cooper Flagg on one-on-one clearouts. If you watched that game against Houston, obviously, I mean, they look to attack him off the dribble. The three-point shot always needs to improve no matter who you are. Those two things stand out from a basketball perspective. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't say it's a weakness, but he's really hard on himself, Pete. He is really hard on himself, and he likes to defer sometimes. He needs to be more of that alpha. It's taken him a while to be an alpha dog in high school. He wasn't an alpha dog till halfway through his senior year. That's when he decided to take over games. And the same thing happened at Duke. The conversations between John Shire and Cooper Flagg this year, there was only one conversation. Coop, I need you to do more. I need you to shoot more. I need you to score more. And Coop loves to get his teammates involved. He likes to look for the best shot, right? That's a team guy. But sometimes the best shot is when the ball is in your hands. And he has the ability to make the play, the right play. And that's what's so attractive to him among so many other things. Let me just say this about Cooper Flagg. He could fit in anywhere in the NBA, any franchise. You could take the worst franchise in the NBA or the best. He knows how to fit in. He's an unselfish superstar. And when I say superstar, I mean somebody who's at the top of the food chain, from high school to college. When will he be a superstar in the NBA? I don't know. I don't know if he'll ever be a true superstar, but I do believe he'll be an all-star. And he'll be the face of the NBA in time to come. And he is a great role model for all high school kids and college players because his approach and mindset is just on winning. It's not on himself. He's the real deal. I've looked for weaknesses. I've looked for things for him to improve on. But there's no guy in America that I'd rather be on my team than Cooper Flagg.
And how about how tested he is, like the medal he showed us this year? As you know, guys playing in the McDonald's game this past year, right? Guys still in high school, a lot of them were older than Cooper Flagg was while he was playing at Duke. What do you feel about his maturation process on the court? Like, how much better will he get in the NBA if he stays on course?
Well, he's going to get better every year because each year he's going to pick out something that he needs to improve on, whether it's on-ball defense, whether it's the free throw, whether it's a post-up game, right? He does a lot of everything very well. Probably doesn't specialize right now when it comes to scoring. His best scoring right now is transition. He can finalize a play as well as anyone, but he's such a great playmaker that he keeps the defense honest. He's one of the youngest, if not the youngest guy in the NBA draft. He'll be 19 years old in December. Look, he comes from Maine, right? If you come from Maine, you have grit, right? You have to wake up in the morning with ice and snow all over the ground outside your house. He has a toughness about him, and he has an everyday mentality. Like for him, every day is an important day on the basketball court. That's what makes him special. It's the talent and the athleticism. But I'm telling you, Pete, right now, it's the approach and the mindset on the court. And he is a humble star. And off the court, you're going to love him in Dallas because he's so easily accessible out in public. And people just gravitate to him because he's just an everyday guy.
Last question for you on Cooper. The fortuitous bounce of the ping pong balls, that's how I see it for him and his family, because he gets to now parachute into a team that is not desperate per se. Maybe their fans want to have their thirst quenched after the Luka thing, but he can fit into a locker room where there's a couple future Hall of Famers. How beneficial is that for him or a young player to come into an environment that is somewhat stable personnel-wise?
Yeah, I think it helps him a lot. He doesn't have to be the man. Look, right now, Cooper Flagg, he won't say this, but he doesn't want to be the man right now in the NBA. He likes to get acclimated to his team and his teammates and then figure out how he can help his team win. I think it's going to be a two-way street. I think the guys like Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson are going to show him how to be a professional. And I think he's going to show them a couple of things about, energy, effort, aggressiveness, and intensity. It's going to be a beautiful two-way street in Dallas.
All right, let me give you an opportunity now. You're a part of Ace Bailey's team, okay? And I come to you and I'm saying, hey, make sense of this for me. Why is this guy probably the best, under pressure shooter in the draft? Why is he not going to workouts? Tell me something good about this guy where I can get over some of that nonsense, or some of that stuff that I perceive from 30,000 feet. This is an 18-year-old, man. This is what it is, or maybe it's bad advice, but get us over that hump.
Yeah, let's separate the player from the so-called agent or his camp, because that's what you have to do right now. His camp, Omar Cooper, the dad of Sharif Cooper, is handling his negotiations, his team tryouts, everything with the draft, okay? Ace has put the trust in Cooper to do that, and he had some red flags when it comes to his decision-making. Now, let's talk about Ace Bailey, the player, the guy that I know, the guy that I've seen in high school, the guy that I've been on the court with at the Steph Curry camp a couple of years ago. He is a very likable young man, okay? He's very coachable. He's the type of guy who loves to play, whether it's a pickup game or a Big Ten game. Ace Bailey loves the game. Now, he did measure at 6'7", and Rutgers had him at 6'10" this year, so that was a little bit of a downer in the combine. He's been the guy in the draft that's, had some questions, had some buzz. And some of it is his responsibility for the people that he has surrounded himself with. But I'm telling you this right now, he is going to help a franchise because he is maybe the most talented, pure talented player in the draft Okay. He loves to play. He can score in a moment's notice, and he's very athletic, and he's a very switchable defender. So he brings all the NBA talent that you need. Needs to mature, needs to learn how to work hard, and needs to understand that he needs to be his own voice and his own man in time. But if this guy hits, you're looking at a guy that is Michael Porter Jr. like, or better.
We might have to go back to the St. Louis Media Guide, see what they listed you at when you were coaching for Majerus, and then we'll measure you next year at the ESPN seminar to find out the real deal.
Well, I'm going to tell you, the weight will be different, that's for sure. Because with Coach Majerus, all I did was eat and work. So I'm probably down 20 pounds from that St. Louis pitcher.
How about Dylan Harper? Spurs fans are watching this now, or they're going to be watching tonight, and they understand that he might be the second best player in the draft, but they also can say, hey, we've got De'Aaron Fox. He's a ball control left-handed point guard. Why do we want Dylan Harper too as we try to get better? Is he that guy where you're like, best available, we got to take him?
Yeah, he's the best basketball player in my mind after Cooper Flag. He can fit into any system, much like Cooper. He's a professional in many ways. I mean, look at his dad, Ron Harper Sr., okay? 5-time NBA champ. His mom, Dylan Harper, she played basketball at the Division I level, and she's a coach right now. This guy has been a professional his whole life. At 17 years old, Pete, he played 19 and under basketball with USA, and he was a very mature player with a group of older guys. He's always played up. He's always played older. He's going to bring scoring ability, playmaking ability. He's physically ready for the NBA. And so he's a guy that can plug and play anywhere. And you're going to like playing with him if you're De'Aaron Fox. It's not going to be like your turn, my turn. He's going to try to help San Antonio win. And that's what they're all about. Dylan Harper is a culture guy, and San Antonio Spurs maybe have one of the best cultures in the NBA. And just to get back to Cooper Flag for 1 second, he's a culture driver. These two top picks, I mean, they enhance your culture. They enhance your locker room. They enhance your team in the middle of February and March when you've already played 60 and 70 games.
Coach, you brought up a really good point about Ron Harper. We're seeing this more and more. Players in the NBA having parents who played in the NBA or parents who played basketball. How much does that enhance their ability, or should I say their attractiveness as a prospect?
Well, if the young man is as serious as maybe the dad was, and sometimes the young man is different than the dad, right? There's so many. You look at the Boozers right now who are going to be at Duke as freshmen. They're outstanding. And they got to learn from one of the best ever in Carlos Boozer. So when you're around a dad who's a former NBA player and his friends, you're on the court with those guys, you're in workouts, you're in strength and conditioning. Maybe you're just hanging around as a young kid, watching it all. You're soaking it all up and you're saying, that's what I want to be someday. So they have the luxury of seeing what a professional does, and they understand the work involved. And then their dad can obviously give them the best advice, or at least hire people to work them out that they know and trust the true professionals. I think they got a leg up if they're serious players.
All right, a couple more for you. Got to talk about VJ Edgecombe, obviously huge here in Big 12 country. I feel like the nation now knows what we knew 3 months ago, or the basketball world. He has kind of really splashed on the scene, cemented that top 4 status. What skill set of his have people, scouts, folks you've been around, what have they been most impressed by as we ramp up for the draft, in that time between the end of the season and right now?
Well, his superpower right now is his athletic ability. He can make plays on the defensive end with steals, rebounds, and he can guard the ball one-on-one. He's very good at guarding. Best lateral quickness and straight line speed, in my opinion, in the draft. Now, he's not broke on the offensive end at all. Got off to a slow start. That's what most freshmen do in college basketball. But then he gradually made the three-point shot. That's the big question with VJ. But he's always worked on his jumper, Pete. And when you look at the numbers and you go inside the Big 12, he shot 39% from 3 in the Big 12. That's hard to do. I talked to Scott Drew, and he said, look, as the season went on, VJ got better. And not only his skill and his productivity got better and his implementation of the Baylor offense and defense, but he became more of a leader. And I think that's really important because when he goes to, let's say, Philadelphia or Charlotte, 3 or 4, he's not going to be afraid to speak up. He spoke up this year with seniors in the locker room. Okay, so he's going to do that in the NBA. Maybe not quite with the same tone, but he's a guy who's not afraid of making things right in the locker room. Again, another team guy, another great culture driver. He came from the Bahamas at 14 years old in this country just to earn a scholarship so his parents wouldn't have to pay for tuition. Now he's going to be a top 4 pick in the draft.
Awesome story. All right, last one for you, personal one. What's the viewing experience for you like tonight? How are you set up? Is there emotion involved? Are you on the phone? Are you just dialed in? You know, what are we doing over there, Coach?
Multitasking. Okay, I'm going to be ESPN Radio here in Charlotte for the draft. I'm doing radio shows the rest of this afternoon. I'll have my cell phone on. You do get some last-minute text messages, media outlets, and then also NBA scouts that may have a question as to, hey, you rank this guy in the top 20. Can you tell us why? We're thinking about trading. You know, a lot of questions from NBA scouts. They trickle in throughout the night. Don't forget, we have the second round tomorrow night. Probably more questions when it comes to the second round. So I'll be multitasking. I'll be multitasking tonight like crazy.
That was my next question. Now, outside of the ESPN radio responsibilities, I know that some of these personnel departments really do lean on you, but I would imagine it's more so on the back end of the draft. Like how much, what is that like? Do you receive a ton of questions on that next night as we get into some of these maybe European guys or guys that are not, you know, global stars as opposed to Americans, or just guys that are deeper in the draft?
Well, I just wrote an article on ESPN.com, 5 underdog recruits, meaning they weren't ranked out of high school, but people knew about them. Some people didn't know about them, and how they're going to be draft picks. So I got a lot of text messages from people saying, hey, tell me more about Ced Coward. He's the biggest sleeper in the draft, Pete. He could be a lottery pick or right outside the lottery pick. Started as a Division III player, then went to Eastern Washington, Washington State, was supposed to play at Duke next year, but he was so good at the combine with his interview and his shooting. He's going to be a first-round pick, probably a lottery pick. Think about this, 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan, a chiseled frame, much like yours, okay? And he has an incredible energy and effort to him on the court. NBA scouts fell in love with him. So after I wrote that piece, because I did a deep dive into him, I got a lot of calls saying, hey, can you give me more intel on him? So most right now, it's intel, right? It's not basketball. Maybe a basketball question, but 99% of the questions from NBA scouts last minute, are there red flags? Are there yellow flags before we do something?
Oh, Coach Paul Biancardi, for us to get you on a day like this is an absolute treat. Thank you so much. Take it easy the rest of the day. Don't work too hard, all right? It's a marathon. You know that.
Oh, we're both on adrenaline today and tomorrow.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much, man. Take care of yourself.
All right. Thanks for having me, Pete.
You got it. Oh, that's the man, Coach Paul Biancardi. I told you, Scotty, like that is one. Not only does he have elite quality breaking down players, right? I mean, X's and O's, right? He knows the ability when he sees it. He also sees the weaknesses, but also I'm telling you, like, to be able to be that sourced up like he is on a day like today, for us to be able to get him and share that with folks is pretty cool. All right, Paul Biancardi. And so now we're going to come back from break, and we have Dr. Laura Irvin. She is going to talk to us about some of these Achilles injuries. Like what's going on? I have theories. You have theories. She has facts, okay? So we're going to come back, a special interview with Dr. Laura Irvin, courtesy of Baylor, Scott, and White. The Pete Sousa Show, presented by Savachix, rolls on after this.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
I don't know, if Bubble wasn't here, I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
Well, the medical director for Baylor, of course, under the umbrella of Baylor Scott and White, Dr. Laura Irvin, joining us this morning to talk a little bit about, 3 is a trend. And when I say 3, I'm talking about 3 Achilles tears in the NBA postseason. We had Dame Lillard went down, then you had Jason Tatum, and then Tyrese Halliburton. For folks like you, you're on the front line of this stuff, working with Baylor Athletics all the time. For folks like myself and millions of fans everywhere, we're wondering, why is this happening? Is there a reason it's happening now to these elite athletes as compared to 10 years ago? Is it a concern? I guess we'll start with that, though. Is there a reason it's happening more now?
Sure. I think that there's a lot of different factors with this that can make it hard to answer that concretely. And I know a lot of people will be looking at this postseason once everything's done. When it comes to Achilles tears, there's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. At the NBA level, these are elite athletes. They're performing high intensity activity a heck of a lot more than me and you are. So not only is the volume of their activity higher, their intensity is higher. Some of these professional athletes are also playing in different leagues in the off season. And then you have to look at their age, and you also have to look at their shoe wear as well.
When you say shoe wear, explain that a little bit. Like, is that like I need a new shoe every night, or is that maybe I should wear the same shoe so it's adjusting a little bit and getting broken in?
I think it's very important. Of course, the volume and miles that your shoe has is important, but it's also the type of shoe that you have. And, just like with football, there's different types of helmets that can kind of come into popularity. I think there's the same with shoe wear. Are you wearing high tops? Are they shorter in basketball? That could be playing a factor that people will be probably looking into.
Oh, that's all right. So I think you're leaving breadcrumbs now, because that's a really interesting point. When I grew up, right back in the day, when I was an athlete, and I was a football player, but I played a lot of basketball, high tops were like a prerequisite. We have been getting away from high top shoes. Could that be contributing in part maybe to some of these?
Sure. I don't think it's the entire reason by any means that it's happening, but it could be a small factor that is playing a role.
Okay. So we talk about that. What about load management? In the NBA, that's a big thing, right? Like Kevin Durant just got traded to the Rockets, and I was just looking at his season. He played 62 games. And at 37 years of age, that's actually really reasonable. I think that's a lot. 82 games is a ton, right? Do you think that some of the mileage, like here's what I wanted to ask you. I'm sorry. With players playing less, but these injuries are happening more than they used to. Like let's say Julius Irvin was playing 82 games when Dr. J with the Sixers. He wasn't getting these injuries weren't happening as often, but now they are. What do you attribute that to if guys are playing less than they were before?
I'm a big advocate for load management, so I think it's very important. I think that sometimes these injuries, there can be a connection and sometimes there's not. Sometimes you can make a powerful sudden movement and you can rupture your Achilles, and you can do everything perfect, from load management to recovery to shoe wear to warm-ups to calf exercises, and it can unfortunately still happen, just like we can sometimes see with ACL injuries as well. So I'm not sure if there's a correlation necessarily. I think if anything, the load management is probably keeping these athletes more healthy.
So do you think is it the speed of the game improving? I always say, like, you work with football players, like, when Baylor was playing in the Southwest Conference, like those guys were sick athletes, but that would be more like a collision on, Franklin Avenue, right? Two cars going like, 25 miles per hour. Now it's like in the Big 12 on a Saturday, you got like an 18-wheeler and a Maserati on I-35. Does the speed and the strength and the weight of these guys, does that contribute to it at all?
Of course. So anytime you have these athletes jumping, pivoting, making big, impactful movements, it can definitely correlate to there being injury. That's why things like making sure you are strengthening your calves, you're doing the flexibility, because your calf is what your Achilles is attached to. And that's what makes it so important to do your warm-ups, do your recoveries that everybody preaches.
When you see this happen to players now, obviously it's a different world rehabilitation wise. This from working at Baylor Scott and White and working with Baylor. What have the strides been as far as these guys are able to come back, and girls, young women, are able to come back faster than ever? Do you see someone get hurt now, rupturing an Achilles, and as a doctor feel better about their chances to make a 100% recovery?
Of course, every year the technology is better and we learn more and more. And so the recovery is better. I also think it's very much sports specific as well. Golfer tearing their Achilles and returning versus a basketball player versus a gymnast are all very different things. The speed of their recovery, the type of physical therapy they're doing is helpful. And their time of recovery, which is always a good question, really can depend on their season. Someone may take a little bit longer to return if it doesn't impact them getting back to season versus, if they need to cut a few weeks off, if they're able to healthy and safely, because season's around the corner.
How about like Kevin Durant had this issue in 2019, and we saw it with Halliburton just a few nights ago, where you have a soreness that you're kind of playing through because the stakes are so high. Does that, how vulnerable, I guess I should say, because I would imagine it does make you vulnerable to having a more severe injury, but how vulnerable does that make you if you're playing through a strained calf because you're in Game 7 of the NBA Finals and maybe you've taken some drugs or whatever, like, given to you by a doctor for your leg? Does that contribute at all? Like the vulnerability that you open yourself up to? How much, I guess?
I think that's where it's really important to have conversations involving the athlete, their coach, the physician, their athletic trainer, to discuss the risks and the benefits involved. A Game 7 with a calf strain may look different than a preseason game, but knowing that you're discussing those risks. Unfortunately, none of us have a crystal ball to know exactly what could happen, but making sure that there is informed consent by that athlete, knowing that, this could happen, this might happen, is always very important when having these discussions with athletes, especially during a high stakes game.
Is there a particular sport that is maybe more at risk? Working with all the sports that you work with under the umbrella with Baylor and with Baylor Scott and White, is there a particular sport that is more at risk?
You do typically see these in basketball players. We have a unique sport at Baylor University called acrobatics and tumbling, which is an emerging sport.
All they do is win championships over there.
That is all they do. It's a good mix of gymnastics with some acrobatics and some cheerleading involved as well, would be my layman's terms way of describing it. And it's much more than all of that, but because of the high intensity tumbling that they do, we see quite a few with that sport as well.
So how about the age of the player? Because Tyrese Halliburton's pretty young. It's not like it's Aaron Rodgers, right? A few years ago, making his way into his 40s with the Jets. How much does age play a role?
I think age plays a huge role. The younger you are, the faster you're going to heal, but it's also your health as well. So you want to make sure you're healthy, you're doing all the right things to your body, nutrition-wise, sleep-wise, hydration-wise, to set yourself up for the best recovery possible.
Is this, all this stuff, talking about this stuff kind of stinks, but does this open up a door for you to have more of a voice, or through some of the other folks on the athletic support staff working in sports medicine, to say, hey, here are things that you can do to prevent this? And if so, what are the things that young athletes can do?
Sure. Just like you said, when things come in threes and it starts to become a buzz, there's a lot more questions that are asked, which gives us avenues to provide education as much as possible. When things like this happen on a very high stakes level that a lot of people see, people pay more attention and ask a lot more questions. I love providing education as much as I can. I think one of the biggest things for people to know is recovery and listening to your body. If something doesn't feel right, that's something to, whether it's an athletic trainer or a physician, let them know. Stretching is important. Tight calves mean tight Achilles, which is important with this because the body's connected. It's also your conditioning. Are you in good physical fitness or poor physical fitness? And are you jumping back into a sport that you haven't been in? It's gradually getting back into sports, making sure you have the right footwear for whatever sport that you're a part of. And there's also some medications that can contribute to tendon health, and making sure that you're avoiding certain activities if you have to be on certain medications for acute illness reasons that can cause tendon rupture as well.
Any of those, what would be some of those medicines?
So there's certain antibiotics. They're very rare antibiotics, and most physicians, especially team physicians, know which ones to avoid in their athletes at all costs. And if for whatever reason it's needed for their acute health and safety, it's making sure that there's time taken off from that sport and load management, getting back into things.
Dr. Irvin, how about like the painkillers, like shots they would give players to get through a game without, feeling pain? That's effective, but at the same time, you don't hear your body like screaming, right? Like you normally would. Are you a proponent, or do you kind of approach that stuff with caution?
I like to do it case by case in every sense of the matter. injections that can help. There are some, oral medications that you take by mouth that can help. There's also risks to those and side effects as well. So it's taking that case by case, making sure it's not becoming a pattern. Also important things to realize, like especially with your Achilles tendon, you don't inject steroid into an Achilles tendon because it can cause rupture itself as well. So there's a lot of things we have to do to keep the integrity of that tendon. So I think it's very much a balance. And again, risks and benefits of talking through with your athletes specifically before making that decision.
One more question. This has been so enlightening, by the way. I really appreciate you taking the time to educate us on this. From a psychological perspective, what is it like when you sit in front of a young athlete who all they want to do? This happened to me. I was an athlete. I had a heart problem. I was on scholarship. They kept me on scholarship, but I could never play because I had cardiomyopathy. But there were some really hard conversations there. What is it like for you when you have to be a part of one of those conversations and say, hey, you cannot play with this? Like how that's a tough, I would imagine there's a lot of things about your job that's hard, but I would guess that's probably one of the hardest. What's that like?
Oh, of course. Going into sports medicine, the goal is you want to get athletes back on the field as quickly and safely as possible. But we also have to remember they're a person first, and their safety and livelihood come before their athletics. At Baylor University, we try to take a multidisciplinary approach to this, meaning it's not just me in the room. There's parents involved, there's coaches involved. We have an amazing mental health department that walks athletes through this as well too. And so we really do this as a team effort. We try to do everything possible to get an athlete cleared. And if we absolutely can't for whatever reason, then we still support them through that process, and trying to help steer that athlete to know that their life doesn't have to be defined by sport, and to help them find value in something else.
What sport did you play? What was your best sport?
Oh, I was a runner. I didn't play a lot of sports, so I don't term myself an athlete.
Cross country, track and field, or just a runner, like you love running?
I did cross country, but my husband jokes that that's not a coordination sport, so it doesn't count.
Hey, endurance is something else. So much respect. All right, Dr. Irvin, thank you so much for your time, and thank you to the folks at Baylor Scott and White for making this possible. I think, now is a time where, regardless of whether this is a finite moment where everybody's talking about that, it's still an opportunity for us to educate people on something that is very important. So I can't thank you enough for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We are Rogue Media Sports.